Hi guys, it's Becky here. Hello, welcome to the channel. Thank you if you're new, lovely to see you. If you're returning, nice to see you again. Today I'm just going to talk a little bit about things that I've experienced personally in the last few years with what a lot of other women suffer from, and often we suffer quite silently about women's health and different things that affect us through different stages of our life. You know, we suffer on with monthly problems, and because it's like a bit of a taboo to talk about them, sometimes we can suffer in silence, or not feel open enough or willing enough to discuss it with the people around us that might be able to support us more. I've had great support over the last few years with my issues. I felt that I can talk very closely with some of my work colleagues, so if I am having a tough time, I can let them know why, but I still find it very difficult to tell people how much I suffer with certain women's issues, because I feel it's inappropriate. You know, I'm happy to tell all you guys out there because I know a lot of you be in the same position or interested in finding out more, but I find you can't just talk about women's problems, women's health issues willy-nilly like you could a common cold, or if you had a backache, sore throat, anything like that, where you can, you know, if you're having a bad day because you don't feel well, you could sort of say, you know, if you're in the kitchen at work and somebody goes up to you and goes, "Oh, how are you today?" and you could go, "Oh, my back's giving me jip today," or, you know, my cold, I've got such a bad cold, you know, things like that. But when it comes to women's issues, you can't really say that in the kitchen, especially if they're perhaps colleagues that you're not that close to or you don't know very well. It just seems very inappropriate. It can seem really inappropriate. Just say, "I'm having a bad day because I've got a heavy period. You know, my periods are ridiculously heavy, that they make me feel very unwell, very anemic, dizzy, tired, I've got a headache. I didn't sleep very well last night because I was up, you know, several times during the night." You know, these things you can't say. You could say you were up several times during the night if you had a bad cold or cough that was keeping you awake. When it comes to women's issues, it's that taboo about saying things in front of people that you're not close to. I mean, why should it be like that? Why should us women and men, you know, not obviously suffering from women's problems, but from things that might be, you know, worrying them, making them feel poorly, keeping them up at night, reducing their sleep. Why should we suffer in silence? But there's a taboo still in society about not being able to speak open and honestly about our health. You know, I know that it also stems with mental health. You've got that issue of can't talk about it. You have to cover it up. You have to pretend you're suffering with something else, that you're off of work that day with a bad, you know, with a bad cold, or, you know, if you've had an upset stomach in the night or something like that. But why should we have to? Why can't we speak openly and honestly? I know it's getting a lot better in society where certain issues are being more mainstreamly spoken about, and that makes it much easier for those that are suffering to talk. But it's just that taboo of certain subjects. Just to give you a little bit of history anyway, since about 2012, 2013, I've been suffering quite severely with uterine fibroids, which are large growths that grow in the uterus. Most women suffer from them with it at some point in their lives, fertile lives, up until menopause, but some suffer a lot worse than others. A lot of women don't even know they've got them because they don't present any symptoms or concerns or pain or other ailments that come with it. But when they can grow quite large, they can become quite painful. They can make you have extremely heavy periods, which will then obviously lead to anemia, obviously then a general feeling of tiredness, feeling unwell, and all of those things. So it's something that many women suffer from, but they suffer quite silently about it. It is hereditary of me. I seem to have got them from family members that have previously had them. Nothing other than that really that would make me susceptible to them particularly. But since then, so for the last 7-8 years, I have suffered on and off. I've had different treatments, I've had surgery, I've had different medications and things like that to help. But most importantly, and I think it's been one of the most vital parts of my journey, is my dietary changes. Last year I sought advice from a nutritionist. Fibroids grow on hormone imbalance, so it's about trying to balance your hormones naturally to try and reduce, if possible, the fibroid size. I will go into, in another video, I will go into the more science aspects of fibroids and where they exist, how they exist, why they exist, and all of that. But today's is just to say, you know, that we do suffer in silence. We can suffer in silence, but we don't have to. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of insight into what they are, how it can affect people, how it's affected me personally, what I've tried to do to help the symptoms and help everything that comes along with them, and hopefully give you out there some support, some advice. If anybody ever wanted to contact me to discuss their own issues or concerns or experiences, that'd be brilliant, because I think together we could really help women, because it just seems still such a taboo subject to talk about, and even you know, going to consultants, to specialists that deal with women's health, it still seems to be quite a gamble and unknown to who you see to seek care from. So it's just, I think it's just to stick together really and see what works for everybody. Last year I sought advice from a nutritionist who advised me on what foods to avoid to reduce the growth of the fibroids. In particularly, she told me to reduce my dairy intake and also my caffeine intake. When I first approached her about a year ago, just under, my favourite things in the world were cheese and tea. Being British, I love my cup of tea. I would drink several cups a day. It was my social thing. You'd go around family, you go to friends, you at work, and you all had a cup of tea. It's just a social thing. I had already cut out milk in my tea and was having soy milk or oat milk. I'd done that quite a while ago, and that was just more for preference on taste instead of dairy milk, which I found too creamy. I was already a vegetarian, so I'd already cut out the meat. I've been vegetarian for nearly 3 years. I found that was my first stepping stone into trying to help my fibroid issue, was to cut out the meat, because I knew that a lot of meat production involved hormones. And I thought, what's the point of pumping more hormones into my body when the hormones I already have can't cope or imbalanced? So there was no point in putting more hormones into my body. So I'd already cut out meat, and obviously just the ethical side of eating meat, each to their own. I used to love meat. I used to love my KFC. I used to love my roast dinners every week. Brought up eating lots of meat at meal times. It wasn't a meal unless it had meat on the plate. And so it was a big change. But a few years ago, my husband and I both decided to try eating vegetarian. And yeah, it was absolutely fine. You know, we found a lot of meals that we both really enjoyed, but I was still continuing eating obviously lots of dairy, even though I cut out the tea, milk in my tea. So going back to the dietitian, she advised me to cut down on the dairy and cut down on the caffeine as being my two priorities, as well as introducing more lentils, beans, pulses into my diet for the protein, obviously because of the no meat in the diet. She also encouraged me to eat a lot of vegetables and everything, which I did already. I love my fruit and my vegetables, so I tend to have a lot of vegetables. And she advised me on a lot of other things, which I will go to in more detail in another video. But the main thing was the dairy. So my husband and I went on holiday last year in September, and we decided, yeah, we had a lovely time. But I decided that once I come back off holiday that I would cut out dairy completely because of my love of cheese. I used to like a little bit of chocolate. I was never the biggest fan, but I loved a bit of chocolate now and again. I also loved anything with like milkshakes, ice cream, things like that. So quite a bit of dairy. So holiday, I enjoyed myself. I had the dairy I wanted. I had the mac and cheese. I had the chocolate milkshakes, poutine, as we're in America, Canada. So I really enjoyed that. And then when I came back, I thought I'd go cold turkey because I just thought that's the best way for me to do it. I wouldn't be, instead of doing dribs and drabs, I thought I'd just do it straight off. So I cut out the cheese, I cut out everything. And I cut down the tea. It was okay. It wasn't too bad. I found lots of alternatives. I always enjoyed peppermint tea, so that's one thing I have increased a lot of, which is very good for you in the last few months. Come November, I received an email about doing for charity a month on being vegan for November. So I thought I'd give it a go. I was very close, even though with my nutritionist I had introduced some fish back into my diet, so technically I was a pescatarian at this time, such as tuna, I'd eaten salmon and things like that, but not that much. So I thought, no, this is the time where I want to try, and if I can go the full hog and, excuse the pun, and go vegan for the month. So I thought I'd give it a go. It would also help me obviously with not wanting the dairy if I knew that I was trying to go vegan. Much easier than I thought. Obviously, having been vegetarian or pescatarian for the last few years, I felt just that extra step taking out the dairy, which I'd already cut out of the last couple of months before that, really wasn't too bad. So since November, and it's now February, I have been vegan, completely vegan. I've not eaten anything that is animal based in any way since then, and I'm currently under the guidance of a consultant at my local hospital regarding my fibroids. I'm hoping in the next year, following her advice and my nutritionist's advice, to help naturally, along with a treatment that my consultant has advised me to do, going to reduce the fibroids naturally. In another video I will go more into detail as to what treatments I've already had from fibroids, and also the treatment that I'm currently receiving from my new gynecologist that I've been seeing for the last few months, to try and stop fibroids. With my diet though, I do feel a lot better, although I am still anemic, but that is due to the heavy periods that I have from the fibroids every month. The new treatment that my gynecologist has put me on should reduce the blood loss, so that will help with my iron levels. My red blood cell count will go up, and all of that. Again, I will go into another video regarding the treatment that I'm currently receiving. But I just wanted to today sort of just talk more about, we all have these problems, and I've just let loose and told you all of some of my issues to all of you out there. It feels good. I think more of us should do it. Just talk more. Just say why you're having a bad day, why you feel tired, why you look tired. When people come up to me and say, Becky, you look tired today. Are you okay? Yeah, because I can't tell them why. You know, I could tell them why, but people would be, you know, that it's not something that's just naturally talked about amongst sort of colleagues, you know, acquaintances. It's the sort of thing that's left between good friends and family, really. They're the only people that you feel appropriate to perhaps talk to regarding women's health or mental health or something that's quite personal to you, sexual health, all of those things. But if you are suffering, if you're in pain, if you're upset, if you're worried, if you're scared, talk to somebody, you know, because there are people out there that can help, or at least listen, and then they understand. That's the best thing you can do, really. Just need somebody that understands. It's just, yeah, talk appropriately. You know, you don't want to go up to you know, say in the tea room at work, you know, making a cup of coffee in the kitchen and say, oh yeah, I'm having a crap day today, you know, my period's really heavy, you know, I'm so much pain, you know, all of these things, and scare them off. But talk to somebody you can confide in, somebody that might confide in you back. You know, if you've ever had that person, your friend, your colleague, your family member, that's ever come up to you and trusted you with their woes, with their worries, with their secrets, you can do that back. Just talk about it. Encourage my you know, phrase of today. What did they used to say in the 90s? What was it? It was a BT ad. It's good to talk. It's a very British thing, that is. It's good to talk. I'm sure it's Bob Hoskins, but it is really. Talk. You know, let somebody know. Visit your doctor. Visit your GP. Get a referral if needed. Get the treatment you need. Again, in another video, I will talk about the more holistic approaches to improving health. I feel I am getting there on the right track very, very slowly regarding my diet, my, you know, choices, lifestyle choices, my diet and all of those things, where I feel that I want to be more in control of what I eat and what goes in my body. And I feel just taking that first step into cutting out the meat, cutting out the dairy, cutting out everything like that, I'm on the right track. Obviously you can join me for my progress, join me for my woes, for my upsets, for the happy times, for the good news, for the bad news, for the treatment, whatever happens, what I found works, what I found doesn't work, my recipe ideas, everything, you know, lifestyle, spending time with my husband, going on holidays. And I just want you to be there with me to see what works, what doesn't work, what we could do better, what we could, you know, things like that. But I know you'll be there for me because I can confide in you, and hopefully you can confide in me back. And thank you for your time today. So if you've got any questions or any worries, any woes, anything that's getting you down or making you feel happy, anything like that, just drop a message, and I will respond. Because I think, you know, like I say, it's good to talk, and we'll see you again soon. But thank you for today, and I hope you have a good week and take care. Thanks. Bye.